and welcome, genties and ladlemen. It is, in fact, your boy, Sir Egward, and welcome to episode 36 of the Cracking the Shell podcast, where we go behind the scenes of all the stupid noises and blast beats and breakdowns and all sorts of fun stuff with all the cool guys, gals, and non-binary pals of the Glasgow and wider Scottish UK metal scenes. On this episode, I am joined by a man who is bringing an ancient language back from the dead with breakdowns. It's Colin Stone. How's it going, my man?
I mean, if you're crafting me or like saying that I'm single-handedly resurrecting an ancient language, I'm gonna take that. But
You are, though.
I mean, there's some other people doing some cool shit as well. But I'm gonna start with that and we'll roll with it. So yeah, single-handedly bringing a nearly dead language back from the brink, and I take all the credit.
Yep,
I'm kidding.
exactly.
I'm
You heard that
literally
here you
a
heard it here
fraction,
first.
but I will take that.
You heard it here first. Yes, Colin is the mastermind behind the world's first and currently only Gaelic metalcore band, and I'm going to butcher every single name in Gaelic. I'm going to
Sure.
apologize now. It's Ghaol,
If-
Ghaol.
Well, there's
Close.
there's two things, right? So number one, and this happens with almost every Scottish person I speak to. So I'm not. So let's not take offense, anybody. It's Gaelic, not Gaelic, because Gaelic is the name for. It's usually referred to in Ireland as Irish, but you could also call it Gaelic. In Scotland, it's Gaelic. It's a different language, but for whatever reason, it's usually people are like, "Oh, you're in a Gaelic metalcore band." I'll take it because it's pretty much, but it's a different language. So Gaelic, and the second thing, it's Gun Ghoul. So it's
Ghaol.
like,
Okay.
yeah, ghoul. So it's like a ghoul, like a ghost, but with a bit more of a like a so Gun
Ah,
Ghoul.
yeah.
Yeah, Gun Ghoul, which
Ghaol.
which does work
Yeah.
pretty well for the whole like screamy, strange noises, breakdowns kind of vibe.
That is my favorite kind of vibe, that. But yes, he is the mastermind behind Gaelic metalcore band Gun Ghaol. There we go.
Yeah,
He is the mastermind behind Gungal, who released their debut album, Loom. Loom.
lame. Yeah,
Loom. Okay, there we go. Released the debut album, Loom, last year independently, and actually got mentioned by The Guardian, which is how I actually found out about this, because otherwise this would have went completely under my radar. So thanks, Dead Media. You're still dead, but well done. You did something I actually care about. But before we talk about the record and everything that you've got going on now and in the future, I like to rewind the clock a little bit and just find out how did we get here? What was it like kind of growing up, finding music? First bands, if you were in any before this, that
yeah.
kind of like the origin story kind of thing.
I would say my origin story for this genre is among the more unique cases because I grew up in the far north of Scotland, as far north as you can go, about 3 miles off the most northerly point in the entire mainland, where my dad was a Free Church of Scotland minister, still is. He's been there for 32 years, and my mother, who was a Gaelic speaker. And so growing up in that household, my dad's understandably, if you got kids, you want to make sure they're like, being protected from things you'd rather they didn't engage with. And so he was very cautious with the music that we would be listening to. Now I had an older brother and he was a few years older than me. So he would get the brunt of it because he started listening to like Linkin Park, which was fine, but then like Limp Bizkit, nope. Blink 182, definitely not. Sum 41, kind of borderline. And so my dad would, for example, look at the lyrics and basically tell us like you can't be listening to that. And so I started listening to Linkin Park. So my older brother did, and I was like 9 years old. You're in the Big Brother kind of aura, and you're thinking, right, he's listening to it. I'm going to listen to it. And the stuff that stood out the most to me was Chester Bennington's Screaming. My favorite song on that whole record is By Myself, which is track 7. It's not really anyone's like standout track, but for me, it was the heaviest, coolest song I ever heard in my life. And from there, I kind of went down that rabbit hole of the screamier the better. But because I was growing up in that free church household, that manse, the lyrics and the artist that I had to listen to had to be that sort of Christian core. So I'm talking initially As I Lay Dying, but then we had Devil Wears Prada, Zao, who else? MXPX, that was like verging more into the punk side of stuff. But the bands who even Good Charlotte. There's some of the Good Charlotte stuff is kind of Christian. So August Burns Red, another one where I could point out the lyrics and say, look, they're clearly talking about God, or look, there's no swearing and they're not talking about laughing when old people fall over, which was a Sum 41 lyric that he took offense to. So, and look, I get that he was trying his best. So that meant that my music taste was pretty singularly shaped towards Christian metal because that was the surroundings I grew up in, and because we lived in the far north, we had dial-up broadband. Things like LimeWire just
Mhm.
didn't really work, so I was relying on getting CDs from my pals in high school, and who would just like burn tracks for me, and then I would take them home, listen to them, learn them, become obsessed with them, and then order CDs from the US version of Amazon because they were much cheaper. I don't know why. I think it was must have been around the time of the financial crash, and it was like $2 for a pound. So I was just ordering a rake of Christian metalcore and deathcore and punk, pop punk CDs from America that would turn up in Caithness. So that's kind of where I started, and that takes us up until about age 17 when I left far north and came down to Civilization in Glasgow.
In Civilization. To
Yeah,
be fair, it's not a bad batch of bands to start off with. I mean, August Burns Red, absolute classic.
yeah,
As I Lay Dying, yeah, we don't talk about them now because they've had what I like to call the Palmieri effect, which you'll know what that's about. But for anybody that doesn't know, in 2015 there was a band called Emmure, kind of new metal deathcore band, and its lone singular member is a guy called Frankie Palmieri. In 2015, literally everybody but him in the band just fucked off because
right.
he's a dick. And it's well documented. So this isn't any kind of allegedly or slander. It is well documented that he was a cunt. So everybody just fucked off. So anytime everybody but the one singular member of a band leaves, it's now called the Palmieri effect. That's a new Sir Edward scientific slogan right there. The Palmieri effect. But
Trademark that.
yeah. But anyway, yeah. So as I Lay Dying, August Burns Red. You could also throw in like Demon Hunter and Impending Doom in there.
Yep,
I'm
yep.
impressed that Impending Doom's still going because you don't really hear much from them. Same with Demon
They put
Hunter.
out an EP like I want to say maybe 10 days ago, if not a week ago. And the
Oh yeah,
first
yeah.
the first track is in all caps, Christ is King. And so that was like, all right, they are
They
still
still
fully
they
all
still
all
love the
systems
Jesus.
go to heaven.
They still do the breakdowns for Jesus.
They do, yes, flail your limbs against your brothers and sisters in Christ. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, there is look, there's a big market there. And so that's where it all started. But then yes, when I left home and started studying, then that's where things began to branch out.
You actually got to all the good stuff. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. They're all good, but metalcore has grown a lot since its very early days, kind of like in the early 2000s with bands like Killswitch Engage, Early All That
Yeah.
Remains, Ghost Inside, that kind of more melodethy influence stuff. And now it's let's get everybody in this neon colored warehouse in plain black t-shirts with extended range guitars. I think I've about summed it up. I still love metalcore though, and I love the way it's going. And you're seeing bands like Spirit Box, they're soaring right now, and I am living for it. And to
Yeah.
see metalcore on home soil as well, it's also inspiring because the scene right now is filled with loads of death metal, loads of thrash metal, loads of
Yeah.
black metal, loads of hardcore, and I love all those, but metalcore was kind of my start as well.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, I started with like metalcore and power metal, and somebody's not done that yet. Metalcore, power metal. I'm just saying it could be a thing. They've done power metal deathcore. That's a band called Dragon Corpse. They have a song
Nice.
about fucking dragon from Shrek. It's great.
I mean, why wouldn't you write that? That sounds like a
Exactly.
song that needed to be written.
It needed to be written, and it is truly beautiful. I highly recommend it. That's
I
your
will take your
we-
word for it.
weird, abstract, stupid thing of the week, which I don't know if that'll be a returning segment. Who knows? But so you've left school, you've left home, you're studying, you're exposing yourself to this huge world of,
Exposing myself. Yep.
yep, don't do that. That's illegal. That's bad.
Just move
Don't,
past that.
yep, don't do that. And then what made you decide to start kind of doing it yourself? Like I'm listening to all this music, I love it. I want to do it. Was there a kind
Yeah.
of singular moment where it's like, I want to do that.
So I had been in a high school band in Thurso, which was the biggest town where I grew up, and we were called Nemesis. Very original name.
So an
And
original.
I don't think there's any traces of us left on the internet. This was like circa 2006, 2007. And we
Yeah,
wrote
maybe.
and recorded like a 4 song EP, and we burned it to CDs, and we sent it to a bunch of like studios, production houses. We sent it to Simon Cowell's label. And of course, we never heard back. But we told ourselves it's not because we were absolutely dreadful. It was because the post office, they lost our CDs in the post.
Yep, definitely.
That's why we didn't make it. And we lived off that for probably a couple of years. Like we entered Battle of the Bands on a couple of occasions, which was again like the big show in Caithness in the far north, and we never finished in the top three. And we always told ourselves like, oh, we must have been like a close fourth. Like they must have been debating between third and fourth place. But then on reflection, I remember our vocalist who was classically trained, lovely guy, but not a metal frontman. And he jumped off stage on the first song and went up and shook all the judges' hands and introduced himself to them whilst we are still playing the song. And we finished the song. He's missed the last chorus. Everyone's applauding, and yeah, it all dies down, and he's still not back on the stage yet. We also have to like stand there like waiting for our vocalist to rejoin. And even at that point, I think I thought to myself, maybe this isn't working out. So yeah, Nemesis was the start, but it was a great way of learning a lot of different skills. I mean, not just playing with band members on stage, but actually finding people who you vibe with, not just who are talented musicians. Because I mean, I don't know yourself, your own band history, but just because someone's a cracking guitar player does not mean they're going to work in a band
With other
setting
people. Yeah.
with other people because you've got different personalities, different characteristics, different characters. I was in a very short-lived indie project as a drummer. That was my first band here in Glasgow, and there was like I would say three of us were sound like good guys, and then there was just it was the vocalist who clearly
Why is
thought
it
he was
always the vocalist?
yeah, it's the Palmieri effect. But
Yep, Palmieri effect. Everybody else just fucking leaves him.
oh yeah, and well the problem was that he thought he was hot shit. He thought he was I don't know Matt
Oh,
Healy, and was just on a different planet. And it meant that anytime there was like serious discussions about how can we get this band going, he was very much like, well, clearly you guys are the problem because look at me. And so you realize very quickly, even as a teenager, it's not just about all right, each of us can play an instrument. Let's start a band. You have to find that meshing between the four of you. Otherwise, you're going to be, let's say, Norma Jean, who have, I think, an entirely new lineup compared to where they started. Not a single original member is left.
I
What
think you
you
might be
want,
right.
ideally, is like an August Burns Red,
Oh yeah, they've
where
been the
other
same since like 2004.
pretty much like they released their first album, which they've
Yeah, they
redone
re-recorded. Yeah,
just re-recorded that. That was they did that album with Josh McManus, and then they replaced him with Jake Lurs, and that lineup has been exactly the same the
that's
entire
mental.
time. Gojira, entirely the
Entirely
same
the
lineup,
same.
start to finish. That's what you want, but it's so difficult in
Yep.
reality for that to happen because as we talked about, there's the Palmieri effect. There's people who have children. There's people who have other priorities. Like it is tricky, and I
There's
think
people
that
that
was
are
the
just
first thing I
dicks in
learned
general. Yeah.
well, exactly. But that's the first thing I learned coming down here. It was the idea of getting a band, fantastic, but the actual reality of
It's
finding
shit.
people who,
Everybody do solo projects now.
yeah, and not just that, but like having a vision that you all agree with. Because if one of
Mm.
us, let's say, for example, I would love to do, and I did for a while, go down a more sort of spite end sound, that sort of
Yeah.
really almost like deathcore end of metalcore. I mean, arguably deathcore. But what if your drummer or your lead guitarist wants to be more like Holding Absence or like a sort of synth inspired Void of Vision? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you've got two people in the same band saying no, let's go over here, but then someone else is saying no, we should be playing into the synths and the clean vocals, you got a problem. So that to me is so I found that so interesting and so difficult to deal with because I was 18 and thinking all right, I don't really know how to have these conversations, how to verbalize what I'm feeling. So let's just slowly let this project fall apart and never talk about it again.
And all
So
right.
I would say there was like a litany of short-lived projects that maybe lasted a couple rehearsals. There was one band, it was like an indie band where I was the drummer, and that lasted a bit longer. But anything that remains on the internet was all bedroom projects. Nothing that ever really connected with anyone beyond the people who already knew us, which doesn't really count in my eyes. So you have to reach new people, and that wasn't happening until Ghaol came along.
Yeah. And what was do you remember when you first started uploading music for something that is just kind of actually unique? Because I can't, again, there's nothing like this. You see bands doing every other fucking language other than Gaelic. What made you kind of pick that to be the thing?
Well, it was more of a question about the language itself, and you mentioned it in the intro. This ancient language. If you're unaware, and some of the audience might be, Gaelic came to Scotland before English did, long before English did, and that's why you see Gaelic place names all over the country. I mean, we have every single mountain. Well, not every single mountain. The vast majority of mountains are named either from the original Gaelic or they're a translation of the Gaelic into English. Every loch, I mean, loch, for example, is a Gaelic word. All of these things that we just take for granted living in Scotland, but actually we don't, often we're not taught, or we just don't know about them. But one of the problems with Gaelic is that when you associate the words Gaelic and music, you get Gaelic music, most people will think like run rig or people playing the fiddle and the squeeze box and the sort of safe traditional melodies. And that is absolutely fine. But I realized after, yeah, like years of failed projects and trying to figure out like what am I not getting? What am I missing? And part of it is that realization of you've got to be doing something fresh, something new, something that people are like, oh, this is different. This is why I like it. You mentioned Spirit Box. I mentioned End as well. I
Yeah,
think those are two
and they're
really good
amazing.
examples. End are phenomenal. Really good examples of bands who were brought something brand new to the scene that hadn't been done before. Now, whether that is a sort of empowering female vocalist who can scream like anyone else in the scene, or it's just this like super group of Brendan Murphy and his friends making devastatingly crushing music. It hadn't really been done before, and certainly not in that way. Whereas when I'm sitting here in early 20s making just bog standard English language metalcore, wasn't new, wasn't doing anything different, wasn't unique in any way. It was just another band doing the same stuff that people had heard over and over again. So taking those two things combined of recognizing to make a mark in any sort of genre, you have to be bringing something new. But second of all, knowing that when people associate or what people associate Gaelic music with was a pretty small corner of like Runrig, Skippinish, Manran, maybe even Pete and Diesel. Such a small little corner. And it's all sonically quite similar. So let's do something brand new. Let's bring Gaelic into metalcore. We leave every fiddle, every accordion, every vestige of traditional Gaelic music behind, and we make something brand new. And that to me is partly why it's worked, because people are coming across it, discovering it, and thinking, I have never heard Gaelic being done in this context. I've never heard Gaelic being screamed before. And that's why, I mean, certainly partly, I think, is why it's worked, is because people, yeah, are finding it and thinking, well, this is new, this is different, this is fresh. So that's how I came to this, which was, yeah, kind of turning a stereotype on its head, but also attempting to create something that had never been done before.
Well, I would say that, at least in my opinion, I think it's definitely worked because it combines everything I love about a genre that basically has been beaten to death and then some, but it's
Yeah,
bringing that something new that you don't really expect from it. It's like when they started putting synths in metal for the first time in like the fucking 80s or some shit. It's like, what the fuck is this? And
yeah.
then it spawned entire genres, and then you've got bands using fucking orchestras and bands using folk instruments and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And it's these things that kind of break the rules and show you it's all right to do stuff like that. And it gives
Mm-hmm.
you a lot more tools in the toolbox. Whereas if you limit yourself to something really quite constrictive, you're only going to get the same kind of handful of different riffs, different melodies, different song ideas,
Yeah.
different albums or whatever. Having these more options, it gives you, what if I do this with this? Oh, that's fucking brilliant. Or nope, let's not do that. Let's just
Yeah,
bury
100%.
that deep in the annals of MySpace. There's
And
a throwback.
yeah, but these are you're spot on in that I think there has been a shift, particularly in metal, but also just I would say in the way we consume media. Because if I give you a couple of names, uh, Squid Game
Yep.
was the most watched show of I think it was 2023,
Hmm.
which was entirely in Korean, and people were completely fine with that because we've adapted to the in the way we watch media. For example, most people will have found Ghaol through like TikTok or YouTube. The vast majority of the stuff that I do that's me speaking to camera, I will subtitle, even if it's in English, because I know that people like watching reels and videos if they have subtitles. I can see from analytics, people are more likely to watch the full thing if it's subtitled, which 20 years ago, if there was a program on TV that was subtitled, we were changing the channel. So that has shifted in that people are now more accepting of something that's in a different language that they can just enjoy. And I would say as well, and it's maybe because, yeah, we live in this digital age. The same is true for metal. It's the same of music generally because you have the likes of, let's see, landmarks who more and more have been leaning into their Frenchness of their music. Slaughter to Prevail, certainly their early stuff, so much of that was in Russian.
Yep.
But because it was different, it was fresh, and the vocals, like him or hate him, love him or hate him, as a vocalist, phenomenal. And that was entirely in Russian. You have Bloodywood, who are the
Yes. Brilliant.
Indian based.
Yep.
Again, some of that I'm sure is in, I mean, it could be one of half a dozen languages in India, and that's fine because actually the music is fantastic.
It is.
Baby metal, another example. So you can
All in
see this,
Japanese. Yep.
yeah, precisely. And so it's less to me about, and this was something I had overcome, this talking myself out of it and thinking, yeah, but who cares about Gaelic? As soon as people realize it's in a different language, they're going to skip it. Not true. And that I think has shifted over the last few years. People are less likely to be like, oh, it's not English, so I'm going to skip it or not going to bother. That to me is no longer a barrier. And I would say to anyone, if you speak a language which is like a minority language, I mean, even I think we're yet to find like an Irish metalcore band who are like Kneecap, they rap in Irish. Phenomenal. I would love to see that in metalcore or hardcore. Or look, if you speak Croatian or Indonesian or Thai, whatever it may be, lean into that your own language rather than just being like, oh, it's an English dominated world, so let's just do English. Because there are thousands of bands doing English metalcore, tens of thousands. There's only one doing Gaelic. So
Yeah,
so
exactly.
find that
And it's
niche,
this guy
whatever it
right
is.
here.
Exactly, yeah. And it's look, it's not just music, it's art, it's poetry, it's literature. If you can find that niche, then there is an audience there for you. And that to me has changed over the last few years. And yeah, you just gotta lean into it.
You really do. And plus, it's something that you feel better about because it's something that you really want to do instead of
100%.
just following the trends and all that shit. Because people can tell, especially nowadays, whether you're doing something because you genuinely love it or because it's following a trend and you're doing the same
Yeah,
thing that every other fucker does. It's the same breakdowns, it's the same riffs, it's the same vocal patterns or whatever.
yeah.
But if people can tell that you're genuinely having fun with it, which I can tell that you are from all the content on the internet, which is also a huge part of music nowadays. It's not possible to just
Yeah,
solely do music anymore. Basically, everybody has to be a content creator in some shape or form, whether
correct.
it's like using social media or if you've got a YouTube channel or a podcast or whatever. You got to have that other thing for people to consume.
It's yeah, that was a tough sell for me at the start. I know it's a tough sell for a lot of musicians. I see it on social media, people decrying exactly that of like, oh, I don't want to be a content creator, I want to be a musician. And it's one of those like kind of, well, suck it up, you kind of have to be because it's not the 1970s anymore when someone's going to wander into a bar and say, oh, that band, they're really something. I should speak to them at the end of the night. it doesn't work like that anymore. You're not going to get discovered. You have to put yourself out there. I over the years, just having written and recorded and produced my own music for 10 plus years, I've had the chance to now produce with some other artists, both in metalcore and a few other genres. And I was working with a guy last week who I went to school with, and he was talking about his frustration that his music, which is kind of like singer-songwriter, chill indie vibes, really nice stuff, but he's frustrated that it's not it's not reaching an audience yet. And I'm asking him like, so what have you done in terms of promotion? Are you on Instagram? No. You on YouTube? No. You on TikTok? No. Like, well, there's a problem.
Yeah,
People are not gonna find you if you're just waiting for your music to be found. As much as you may hate it, and look, sometimes creating content for your music is not the thing I'm looking forward to doing most that week, but it is how people find you. So you do kind of have to suck it up and be like, all right, it's not what I really want to be doing, but if it's a way of getting my music to people who have never heard it before, or even better, getting my language, which is a huge part of my heritage, if it means that people find Gaelic through me, through some content, fantastic. Because that's the goal here. It's not just to make music that people enjoy. And that's fantastic. But if people, even within my own country in Scotland, discover Gaelic through me and think, oh, this is really interesting. Maybe I should learn it. Amazing. That's so important for me. But yeah, it does mean you have to sometimes produce content that you think, oh, I could have done everything else with my afternoon except do this. But look, it is part and parcel of being an artist.
it is. And I think the important thing is to try and make it fun. Try and do
Yeah.
something that you'll find fun. Like for example, I find this really fun. I like the kind of more laid back kind of we just sit and have a blether kind of format, and that's what I kind of
Can I ask you a
started with.
question?
Yes.
Right. Because it's one thing that I would love to hear other people's views on. And
Hmm.
it's exactly this topic of like having fun in music. Because what I've found in the scene generally is that you find some bands who, and look, this goes for hardcore, metalcore, black metal, whatever. There are some bands who take themselves so seriously that there's no like fun or frivolity or like just having a bit of banter, a bit of crack versus the ones who aren't taking it seriously at all and are just there for a good time. Not to say that either one is wrong, but for me, as someone who's like coming into this scene, as it were, it's an interesting balance because you want people to take you seriously, but at the same time, I'm not a particularly serious person. Like I like having fun. I like uh, trying to entertain people, whether that's with, as you mentioned, like content, just being a bit daft. I'm not taking myself too seriously, but then people looking at whether it's an onstage persona, it's what you're like on social media, and thinking, who's this goof promoting his Gaelic metalcore? This is a serious music scene, and you're making fun of it, or you're like taking it too lightheartedly. So, what's your take? Do you think there's a balance, or do you think that we should all be like sleep token, sort of playing it so close to the chest that nobody really knows who you are?
I think it's something that very much depends on each artist. For example, and there are some really good examples in the scene itself. For example, you have a band like Party Cannon. It is the most stupid, noisy, blast beat, gurgling noises, slams. But
Yep.
then you look at their logo and it looks like fucking Toys R Us. And they post memes. Like half their
Yep.
content is fucking memes, but at the same time, they are stupidly talented musicians, and
100%.
they know how to have banter on stage. Like I saw them last year at the Cat House, and holy fuck, it was hilarious. It was hilarious, but you can tell how tight they are as musicians. But then
Mm-hmm.
you see some people that have their black metal band with a logo that looks like drop sticks, and everybody's called Count Farf and Nerf and Nerf, and fucking they're like, look at me, I'm serious, meh.
Yep.
But I think that, yeah, it's all well and good to have a serious image, but when you're performing live, especially, you're there to entertain. Because nobody's
Mm-hmm.
going to care about, look at me, I can play Phrygian Dolman at 300 BPM or whatever. It's like, yeah, I appreciate that, but if I'm going to a live show, if I'm leaving my house, going to Glasgow, which is about an hour away from me, because I live in
Yep.
Falkirk, I know I'm disappointed myself. I'm not going to go there and stand and pay the money to get to the show and get to Glasgow to stand there fucking bored looking at you wank over your instrument. Have a bit of fun. Let just show business be show business. It's all well and good having a serious image, but when it comes to live performance, I'm there to be entertained
Do
and
you
enjoy
think
some
that
cracking
applies?
music.
Do you think that applies for hardcore?
I mean, you do get some hardcore bands that are dead serious and all that kind of stuff, but then you do get some that are just fucking daft. I mean, for example, a few friends of mine have recently formed a hardcore band called Canny C.
Nice.
Yep,
That's a great name.
it is a great name because I think like half of them are in fucking glasses. It's fucking brilliant.
Class.
I did suggest to them, if your first release isn't called Spectacle Savior, I'm upset. And there's the penny drop. There's the
Yeah,
fucking joke.
yeah, I'll give you that.
Yep. I'm a genius. I'll do your ghostwriting for you, no problem. I'm not talented enough for that. But I think there is definitely a kind of balance when it comes to your image. I think, yeah, you should be able to do whatever you want. But if you're planning on taking this further than a bedroom project or a studio only project, you're actively going out to try and play shows, learn to have a bit of fun.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because that is definitely something I've been like weighing up, which is that question of how serious is too serious. Because look, I take the music part seriously because I want it to be good. I want people to enjoy it,
Hmm.
but I'm not going to try and pretend to be someone else and say no. My goal here is to make people respect metalcore. Look, metalcore at its heart is a bit silly.
It,
It's
it is.
it's everything from Electric Callboy to breakdowns with air horns.
Yep.
So
Oh, it's
and
beautiful. I
like
fucking
sound
love
quotes.
it.
I was listening to early Chelsea Grin last
Mhm.
week, and they have I can't remember what song. I think it's Krukebanger, and they have a breakdown, and just before it hits, they have the quote, which is "Hit the lights."
Yeah.
It's boner time, and then this insane breakdown comes in, and that to me is like the balance between okay,
Yeah.
you want to be taken seriously, but I don't want to pretend to be some sort of like tough guy who is like fully serious and committed to the bit. No, I want to be me, but I still want people to take the music kind of at face
Yeah.
value. So yeah, it's just an interesting question.
I think the best thing personally, and the best advice that I can give anyway, as a fan of music, is just be yourself. Don't try, unless you're doing some kind of weird theatrical thing like Sleep Token or like Alice Cooper, if we're going way, way back.
Sure.
If you're doing something like that, then yeah, sure, commit to the bit. But if you're gonna do a bit, you do it to the end and you take it seriously. You know what I mean? But if you're not doing something like mega theatrical, um, just be yourself because people will respect that a lot more and they can relate to you a lot more. You're
Mm-hmm.
expressing who you are through music instead of being like this big, scary, tough guy, as my dad has called it, a bunch of hairy fuckers jumping up and down on stage. That's literally how he's described metal bands. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no, fair enough.
it's an interesting debate. Feel free if for it because we need to do engagement because content. Put in the comments below. Do you think bands should be, oh, look at me, I'm a big tough guy? Or if you think they should be like, nah, here's a penis joke before the breakdown.
Yeah. Or like I saw with a counterpart show, probably pre-COVID, where Brendan Murphy, rather than giving the pre-breakdown line, was just yelling quotes from the Lemmy show.
Yeah,
So and just memes as well. So he's like, this next song is called Cher Lloyd by Cher Lloyd, and
yeah,
then would play Bouquet. So to me, and he's a good example of someone who obviously does not take himself seriously whatsoever. And I've seen enough counterpart shows to know that he basically just insults the audience for the vast majority of the time he's on stage anyway.
mm.
Talks about how much he hates being up there and how if nobody moves for the next song, he's going home. But make
It
some
works.
outstanding music. Like that EP last year that they dropped, Heaven Let Them Die, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, start to finish. So that to me, rather than attempting to be Brendan Murphy, I'm just going to be me. But it's a good example of someone who's like found that balance between the music speaks for itself. His lyricism is fantastic. His writing, delivery, everything in that band just works, and they've worked up to that over years. But he's still himself, both on stage and on Twitter. So yeah, it's a good role model to look to. Brendan Murphy.
Yep, there you go. Everybody can look a wee bit to Brendan Murphy for how do I band?
How do I band?
How do I do the music and stuff? But you seem to present yourself as a very knowledgeable young man, so let's put that to the test with
Oh,
Sir Edward's untitled trivia thingy. I do need to actually like make up a title or maybe do some funny editing. I'll sit down and do that one day. But what I've
yes.
been doing with a few episodes here and there when I've had time to actually formulate the questions is I look at the genre that the people are playing in and let's just see how much do they know. I will say I've done this with about I think 5 bands so far already. Nobody scored above like 4 points for their.
Okay.
Nobody scored above 4 points. So let's see what you can do with this
Let's
metalcore
see.
quiz. We've got 10 questions here, and I can't speak, and yet I have a podcast. There's some irony going on there.
It is a Monday, so I'll give
It
you
is
that.
Monday. Yeah, exactly. It's Monday. I was at work earlier. Um, Metalcore quiz, got 10 questions. The only person that's managed to score above like 3 is James McBain of Hellripper, if you know that band. He got 4.5. But let's see how many Mr. Colin Stone will get with question number one.
Okay.
How many of Immure's studio albums were released through Victory Records?
You know, when you were talking about Emure earlier, I'm actually looking at the cover of Goodbye to the Gallows, which I have
Hmm.
mounted on a canvas in my studio here. I have surrounding me about 2 dozen artworks of albums that are very influential, just as a side note. So, Goodbye to the Gallows, I will stand by, is a phenomenal metalcore record.
It is.
I've got The Cleansing by Suicide Silence.
Yes.
I have Homesick by Day to Remember. Again, phenomenal record.
Yeah.
I've got Alien, North Lane, Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory. I've got Spirit Boxes, 2021, Eternal Blue, like loads
Mhm.
of these. So Immure, Victory Records, I think that they did Goodbye to the Gallows, Felony. Oh, there was one more in the middle with Kurt Angle on the cover. There's the Respect issue. And they had an EP. Does the EP count? Are we talking, is it just albums or EPs?
Just full length albums.
Full length albums. Goodbye to the Gallows, Respect Issue, Felony, Slave to the Game, I don't think was on Victory. And then there's Speaker of the Dead. I'm going to say four. Four.
You think 4. You are wrong, sir. It's 6. It was everything.
Ah,
It was everything up until Hindsight, because Hindsight came out.
really?
Hindsight up until Sharp Tone.
I
Hindsight came out
thought
in
I
Sharp
thought
Tone.
Look at Yourself was Sharp Dog because that was their 2017 record, which
Yep, that was on
is
Sharp Tone, and Hindsight was on
and
Sharp Tone.
hindsight. All right.
Everything before that, because the last album before the Palmieri effect kicked in was Eternal Enemies, which was on Victory Records. Everything
That's
they've done
so
up until
interesting.
well, there you go. First one is wrong,
Ah,
but it's fine because we've got 9 more.
sorry,
Next
Frankie.
question. It's fine. Frankie Palmieri's not going to fucking see this. I'd laugh if he did. I'd also shit my pants because I don't want to fuck with Frankie Palmieri. But I mean, come on, it is well documented, bro.
He's
I'm
going to
just
write a
saying.
song about you.
Yep, can't wait. Suck his dick. That's the only
I
thing I
was
know.
literally just about to reference that song.
Yep,
Oh,
I fucking love
no, we're
that.
not doing
It's
it. We're not doing it.
so dumb. Next question. What was the name of the first Bring Me the Horizon album to feature Jordan Fish and Lee Malia?
Not making this easy for me. So again, fun fact: I got their first full length with "Pray for Plagues" on the opening track. Count Your Blessings. I got that in an Aberdeen HMV and listened to it on a portable CD player. I remember listening to the breakdown of that opening song and showing it to my little brother, and he was horrified that there was a swear word in it because we were still, still living in that Christian
Yeah.
household. But I kept that CD very quiet for my dad because if he'd heard that opening track, he never would have ever let me listen to that again. So I don't think Count Your Blessings had Jordan Fish on it.
Nope.
I don't think Suicide Season had Jordan Fish on it. Maybe the next one, which would be Sempiternal.
That is correct. It's Sempiternal.
Yes.
One on the board, ladies and gentlemen. Next
Logic.
question. Logic. Yeah, exactly. Well, you missed out. There is a hell. I've seen it.
Yeah, I skipped that one. I mean, we
It's
all
fine.
skip that one.
It's fine. Next question. Who produced the latest Knock Loose full-length album You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to?
I know this answer because I discovered recently that on the track Slaughterhouse that Motionless in White did with Knocked Loose, and then Knocked Loose did
Slaughterhouse
Motionless
2.
of they
Yep.
did Slaughterhouse 2 with Motionless in White. Now I'm doubting myself. No. So there is a line in both songs, which is eye for an eye, and that is delivered by the producer Drew Falk. And in both songs, it's Drew Falk. It's the same sample. They've literally just used Drew Falk's take, eye for an eye, in the original, and then Knocked Loose used the same sample, the same recording for the second track. But now that's making me doubt. I think Drew Falk did the Motionless in White record. I don't think he did Knocked Loose. It makes me think it was Will Putney, but wait,
Come on, we need the final answer,
it's Will
Colin.
Putney. It's Will Putney.
Nope, it's Drew Falk. It's Drew Falk. He produced it.
I've had an absolute horror show there because I was like, it's Drew Falk, it's Drew Falk, it's Drew Falk, it's Drew Falk. Oh, actually, no, it's Will Putney. No.
Nope.
Oh, that's so annoying.
It's all right. It's all right. But so far, that is one right, and we are on question number four.
I'm giving
What?
myself internally a two.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. You can give yourself whatever you want, fella. Next question. What year did Ice Nine Kills form?
So they have been around for much longer than people recognize. I think every trick in the book came out in 2005, but whether that was when they formed is a different question. I'm going to say 2005.
It's 2000.
Really?
Yep.
That
Because
is wild.
they started off as a ska punk band.
Yeah, because they did that song with Real Big Fish last year, the
Yep.
cover. And I remember reading an interview about why they did a song with Real Big Fish, and they basically were like, "Well, we started off as a ska band, and Real Big Fish were one of our influences, so we wanted to bring it full circle." That's
Yeah.
crazy. 2000.
2000, because they put out Last Chance to Make Amends in, I think, 2001 or 2002. Might have been
Ah,
2003 or something like that.
do you know another band that people don't realize have been around for forever is Crystal Lake?
Yeah.
Because I started listening to them. I think they put an album in like 2010, and there's a breakdown in one of their tracks where Rio says, "Been at this since 2003." You're like, what? And they only really kind of broke through with that album that came
Mhm.
out just around COVID time. And then I was like, these guys have been around for literally like 20 plus years and are only now getting their break. And now they've
Yep.
had to replace him as a vocalist. I think they're kind of back a few steps. That's so interesting. They've been around for that long.
Yeah.
Man,
It's the
it's all
same
getting
with
old.
a lot of bands that are just now getting their flowers. But like
Yeah.
prime example, Lorna Shore, everybody knows that that happened in 2021. They've been around since 2009.
Yeah. I remember I bought they had Tom Barber on vocals when I first got into them. They have a song which starts with the word God, and I can't remember the rest of it. But that came out like 2013.
Yeah.
Someone in the comments will know the song. And I remember hearing that and thinking, oh, incredible. And then again, 8 years later, here comes Will Ramos, and suddenly they're an
Stupid
overnight
demon
sensation
noises,
who've
and
been at it for 16 years.
they've sold out the Barrowlands. It's something mental.
Yeah, that's wild.
Deathcore sold out the Barrowlands. I'm so proud.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2000. Next question. What was the name of the first single from the album Disarm the Descent by Killswitch Engage?
See, I don't have any lore here because it was a band I didn't get into. So I'm going to say one of the only two songs that I know by Killswitch Engage, This Fire Burns.
Nope. It's In Due Time.
Never, I could have been here all night, never would have got that. They're one of the only like OG metalcore
Yeah.
bands along with Trivium that I've never got into. But no, I know. Is it This Fire Burns or As Fire Burns? Because it used to be CM Punk's
Yeah.
old entrance theme,
Yeah.
and
I think that was
fantastic
on the
song.
album. before Disarm the Descent because they had Jesse Leach in the very beginning,
Yeah,
and then he left, and then they got Howard Jones in for nearly about a decade, I think. And I love Howard Jones,
yeah.
and then he left again. And then Howard Jones left because he had like diabetes and stuff, and he was finding it hard to manage that and depression and all that stuff. So then they got Jesse Leach back again for Disarm the Descent, which I mean banger album, I'll say that. Disarm the Descent, and then obviously you've got Alive or Just Breathing, which is like one of those like this is metalcore kind of old standard
101.
metalcore
Yeah.
thing, yeah, metalcore 101 kind of thing. But yeah, it is what it is anyway. Next question, question number 6. Drummer Josh Miller played on how many albums with Emmure before his departure in 2021?
In the interest of time, two. He played
Yes.
on he played on the 2017 album Look at Yourself, and he played on Hindsight.
Yep. 2. You're correct.
Yeah, I reiterate, as much as Frankie Palmieri is a dick. Sorry if you're watching, Frankie.
I'd laugh
I
if
do
he
enjoy
was.
their music.
I do love Emmure's music. It's
I
fucking
do think Look
brilliant.
at Yourself, if you take any sort of Emmure bias out of it and just listen to it for what it is, I think it's a phenomenal record.
It is a
Hindsight,
phenomenal
it's
record.
not quite as good, but yeah, two. Another
Yeah,
point.
you got a point. There you go. I think you're above last place. So there we go.
Nice.
We've got a few more questions left. What was speaking? This is kind of related to Emure because Josh Travis. But what was the name of the only full length album to be released by Glass Cloud?
I know this album because If He Dies, He Dies is one of my favorite metalcore songs of all time. I can hear that opening riff in my head. And the album artwork is a lion.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to absolutely ruin my day. I do not. I know it's like, oh, I will only accept your first answer. I think it's called White Flag, but I can't remember if that's the name of the song or if that's the name of the record. White Flag. Let's go for it.
White Flag. Nope. It's the Royal Thousand.
Of course it is. Oh,
I'm gonna make this man pull out all his hair. He's going to look like me.
oh.
He's going to look like me. That's
It's such a good record as well. Glass
it.
Cloud,
Really
another really
is.
good example of a band who, had they kept going, would probably be in the sort of echelon of your Silent Planets, your
Yeah.
Spirit Boxes, maybe, because they were doing something so different, so unique. And that album, The Royal Thousand, of course, who could forget? Uh, that's
This guy.
so annoying, man. Great album, though. Great album.
It is a great album. And then this is another kind of leaning towards Josh Travis kind of thing. This one you get a 50-50 shot of getting right because it's a true or false question. True or false? After the disbanding of the Tony Danza tap dance extravaganza, vocalist Jesse Freeland became a teacher.
You know, I have to get into your head and figure out, like, would you make this a true or false? I think he's gone and done something even more outlandish, like he's a stripper or he's a cop. And so I'm gonna say false. He went on and did something even more different.
You are correct. False. He didn't become a stripper, unfortunately. He joined the police.
Did he actually?
He joined the police. He joined the police in 2014. I don't know if he's still there,
Called it.
but god damn it, can we bring back Tony Danza Tap Dance Extravaganza? Because Danza 3, one of the best like panicky mathcore
Yes.
stupid noises albums out there.
The
Because
the
that
Alpha
was
and
the
the
first,
Omega.
yeah, the one that came out after that. Both incredible albums. Josh Travis made that band. Right, anyway, that annoying break aside, we've got 2 more questions and then we'll start wrapping up with plugging everything that you've got going on.
Let's do it.
Question number 9. Which Periphery song was nominated for Best Metal Performance at the 59th Annual Grammy Awards?
It was I want to say it was Marigold because no, wait, 59th. Because part of me is like, was it Blood Eagle? I think it was Marigold.
Nope, it was The Price is Wrong.
See, that's on the
Same
Marigold
record,
album. That is on the album, and it's a funny one because I don't think that's anywhere near the best track on the album.
Yeah.
Again, one of my artworks here is Periphery 2, because Periphery 2 came out in 2012, and I was working at the London Olympics in the press team. And that album, so I was
Any
working at the London 2012 Olympics in the press team, and that album got me through that summer. So I'm annoyed, but I will take it. It's another zero.
It is another zero, but that's completely fine. You're sitting on what is it? Two, I think. Three, two. I need to go back again. Sempiternal, got that right. Um,
The Josh
Josh
Miller
Miller, got that one. And false, so three.
three.
Last question. Which Pink Floyd song did Of Mice and Men cover on their 2018 album Defy?
See, that's the album I like the least.
Yeah,
So I don't know. Was it Will You Still Be There?
no,
Which isn't even on that record.
it was Money.
No, again, never would have
It's
got
a
that.
bad cover. Don't. It was not the best start for our boy Aaron Pauley. It was not the best. Anyway,
Yes.
so at the end of Sir Edward's untitled trivia section, Colin Stone of Ghaol has 3 points, which means he is not last, ladies and gentlemen. He is not last. Well done anyway. Thanks for playing. It's a nice wee thing to kind of break it up and kind of put you on your toes like, oh fuck. It's one of those kind of, it's a wee bit fun. And it shows
It
that
was great. You clearly had done your research, and
spent
I'm
all of
crediting
half an hour on
myself.
Wikipedia.
Well, look, it's research is research,
Yeah,
but I'm gonna credit myself for like being quite close on some of them. But
you
still,
were
three
very,
is
very
three.
close. If
Three
you
is
had
three.
gotten Drew Falk, you would have been in second place.
Ah, oh well.
But it is
Maybe
what it
next time.
is. It is what it is. But before we wrap up and before we wrap up this incredible interview, I want to thank you so very much for taking time out to speak to me. Obviously, the albums came out. There's a new song out as well. What else is in there? We go. I would like to thank you so very much, Colin, for taking the time out to speak to me. You have been a very, very busy boy with all the incredible content you've been making, literally resurrecting a language from the dead, from the annals of history. World's
Solely.
first and solely him, exactly.
Yeah.
Nobody else. And then, like 15 people say, no, actually, I did it. And I'm like, I don't care. You don't have breakdowns. I ain't listening.
Yeah.
But I know that obviously you got a bunch of music in the pipeline. I know the next thing that you've been talking about is potential live shows.
Yeah.
So what is there anything that you can say regarding that?
Well, to everyone who's watching, we need a drummer. We need someone who has a drum kit and is
And they
happy
need that for
slash
drums.
can travel with their drums because yeah, everything else is ready. We've got the set list ready. Um, Everything that needs to be organized for live shows is there, except a drummer. So if you know a drummer, if there's a drummer in your life who's looking for a project, who's adrift at sea, get him to get in touch with me at Gunghul, Gunghal, on pretty much every social media platform, and you will find me. You can send me a message, leave a comment, because that's the missing piece, which is a drummer. So if you can do that, if you know someone, spread the word. There's some posters up in studios in Glasgow as well, so you can take down my number there. Which I'm for privacy, I'm not going to share on the internet, but yeah, you can find those in your local rehearsal studios. And yeah, plans for the year, live shows is priority, but yeah, always got some new music on the way. I did a new song with a Greek artist in January called Saishias. It's bouncy metalcore at its finest, and there'll be more of that in the coming months. And yeah, I'm excited to play some shows and actually meet some people because it's great receiving attention and love from strangers on the internet, but to actually see it in person would blow my mind. So yeah, watch this space.
Exactly. It's the typical local band thing. Watch this space. And I mean, usually we make that joke and it's mixed with metalcore. It usually involves let's not go down there. I love metalcore, but I mean, come on, it's fun. It's like you've seen all the memes of days since last core incident, zero.
Mm-hmm.
I assure you, this man, nothing's gonna happen with him. I
I mean,
assure you.
the shows, as I say, the show is the most important thing is that everyone has fun, including me, because
Yeah.
that's why I would do shows because they're fun to do.
Exactly. And it's fun to watch. And I can't wait to see all of these amazing tracks live in my face with these glasses on. Hopefully, everybody wears deodorant. Please, fucking wear deodorant, especially
Honestly,
if you're spin kicking. Just fucking wear deodorant. I don't want to smell your stinky pits. Look, there's the new merch idea. Gungal deodorant.
don't want to smell your stinky pits.
Exactly. No, nobody wants that. But yeah, I would like to thank everybody so much for watching. If you like what you hear, be sure you like, comment, subscribe, share it around with everybody that likes metal, doesn't like metal. If you like Scottish people for whatever reason, I don't know why you would, but if you like that kind of thing, you'll find something you like in this podcast. If I make you laugh, I make you cry. If I somehow make you come, I don't care. Just enjoy the content. Share it around. Give Colin and Gungal some love. Check out the Big Cartel. You'll have some nice looking threads there. You'll have tons of bouncy, stupid noises with words that you'll have no idea what they mean, but it sounds good. So
And you could learn it. I guess tap away
exactly,
or
learn it.
son would take I guess Himishiv a yaya, which
Ah.
meant thank you very much for your support. I'll see you soon.
Oh,
Ideally
look
at
at
a
that.
show.
Yeah, ideally I shall. I can't fucking speak. Jesus Christ.
In an
I,
Arstrula, out in Glasgow,
ah,
on a stage in Glasgow.
on a
That's what
stage
we're
in
aiming for.
Glasgow. Thank you very much because again, I am clueless. I think I just need to go back to school or something like that for Gaelic. But
It's never
thank you
too
all
late.
very much for what exactly. It's never too late. Do that thing you want to do. Unless it's illegal, then maybe don't do it. Don't do it. But if it's legal and it's not hurting anybody or infringing anybody's rights, do it.
What you say?
Absolutely do it. Exactly. Thank you all very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, etc. Show Gungal some love either on the internet or right to his face at shows in Glasgow or who knows. But yeah, thank you all very much for watching. I will see you all in the next one.
Deary.
Peace. Oh, wait, wrong button. Peace.